Hey y'all, this is Tasha. I am back with another video. Thank you so much for stopping into my channel. As usual, do not forget to hit the subscribe button below if you are not already subscribed to the channel. Got another week of Married at First Sight. Let's jump back into it, y'all, and discuss what happened on episode 11. Is it me, or I feel like, I know the episodes have not changed, but I feel like they're getting so long. Like, oh my gosh, these 5 couples in 2 hours. Like, if I did not DVR this to fast forward through the commercials, I wouldn't be able to do it, okay? Just gets too long and drawn out sometimes. Oh my goodness. But here we are, episode 11. We see that the couples are now 5 weeks away from decision day. So the episode opens, you guys know I have my phone here so we can keep up with the notes because I cannot remember everything that goes on in these episodes. But we open up with Miles and Karen, and then Miles asks Karen if she trusts him. And she basically says that she trusts him, but she cannot yet trust him with his heart. And as soon as she said that, she got the biggest eye roll from me, because I'm like, girl, just last week you said you felt unsafe, disrespected, all this other stuff because he wrote sex with my wife on the calendar. And now this week, Karen, make it make sense. I just don't know which one it is. As we as viewers are confused, I'm sure that Miles is hella confused trying to figure out what signals that you're giving him. But, whatever. This episode, we see Dr. Viviana do her rounds with all the couples, which I feel is much needed. Like, I feel like they needed this even a couple weeks ago. Maybe even before Pastor Cal stepped in there, they needed Dr. Viviana to come in there. But we finally get her this week, and she stops by Brett and Olivia's place first. And she asks them, how they're getting along and how things are going. And they, of course, like, things are going good. We're getting along. Basically lying to Dr. Viviana. And I feel like they keep doing that every time they get with one of the experts, or even when they get in the group of the other couples. They're like, oh, everything's good, everything's good. But then when they're alone, we see everything is not good. Like, who are y'all trying to fool? We can still see what actually happens between the two of you, even if you don't tell us now. The cameras are there picking it up. We can see that you guys are struggling. It's okay. All right, but while they're talking to Dr. Viviana, they share that their biggest challenges are their living situation and children. So Olivia, tries to share that she doesn't feel the living situation would have been much of a big deal if he didn't already own his home. And immediately, Brent starts with the sarcasm. Stupid me for being responsible. Stupid me for, darn that equity. Like, she didn't mean it like that, and you knew that, but he just immediately went there. And I'm like, she doesn't mean that. She's just meaning that because you have a house, your house is more of a permanent situation that you just can't get up and leave like she can an apartment, and her job is further away from your house. So if she was to move into your house, because you do already have a home that you have purchased, it would mean longer commute and longer days for her. That was her intentions. We did not need like all the smart comments even before she could even finish her thought. He gets on my nerves. So it was just like, I just wanted her to slap him in the face in that moment. I know it would not have been appropriate, but I wanted her to smack him in the face because he truly deserved it in that moment. Or I wanted Dr. Viviana to call him out just a bit sooner, because he just immediately turned on the shenanigans the minute she said that. He gets on my nerves. I feel like for the kids situation with them, I honestly don't think they probably should have been matched, because kids are like basically a non-negotiable. Either people want kids or they don't want kids. Like, I don't feel like there's really any in between of trying to convince somebody to go either way, because deep down inside they feel maybe the opposite way, but they're doing it maybe to just, appease you or compromise or whatever it is. But children are forever. It's not like a dog or a fish or even buying a couch together, that you can then, you know, figure out what to do. Kids are here. They need both parents to be 100% in and 100% involved. So it's like for him to be, for sure he wants children. She's like, not so much, depending on who I'm with. Maybe I can discuss it. And I'm just like, girl, it shouldn't matter who you with. They're going to be your babies. You get pregnant to push them out, they your babies. It does not matter who you're with. So it's like, y'all just need to either figure that out, and if it is truly a deal breaker, let it go. Because again, I feel like that is pretty big, along with, you know, them already kind of having the financial issues with her making more money and him kind of being just not on the same page budget wise. So to add money woes on top of children woes, like, whoo, team too much. But okay. They talk about a little bit of their intimacy and sex, and they do reveal, though they didn't want to talk about it, they do reveal that they have not had sex yet, because Olivia, she's a bit uncomfortable with touching and PDA, and Brett is like, hey, I'm all for it. So I think it's more so his attitude, because he just does so much to turn her off, probably mentally and emotionally. Physically, she's just not attracted to him, because the minute maybe he does something nice, just give him a good 2-3 hours and he'll turn around and show you while he's still a jerk. So it's like, I think some of that has something to do with it. But even then, in that moment, Dr. Viviana was like, you know, can you put your arm around her? Can you touch her? Can you move closer? And he did. And he kind of like put his arm around her and rested it like on her thigh. She immediately kind of shifted it to the couch, like, you doing team too much. But that was funny. But she did say that she was open to having sex with him, in the sense of that she didn't want him to not try, because, you know, maybe if she was feeling frisky, she would go for it. But on his side of things, he's like, I really don't want to try because of the fear of rejection. So in that instance, I understand really where both of them are coming from, that I think she feels like if he pursues it, she'll be down for it, but then he's probably afraid to pursue it because don't no guy wants to get told no from their wife. But, you know, okay. And then Brent just had a lot of nice things to say about Olivia in front of Dr. Viviana. And I was like, where is this coming from? I just don't feel like he is genuine. Whenever he's around other people, he says these things. And I'm just like, but you don't treat Olivia this way when it's just you and her. Even, you know, just last week when y'all were out with her friends, you don't treat her as this, you know, kind individual that you just told Dr. Viviana she is. So I'm just like, it's hard for me to believe him, just because he has a horrible attitude 80% of the time. So it's really hard to not think that he's just giving us lip service when it comes to, you know, saying nice things. I just don't buy it. Next, we see Dr. Viviana go visit Miles and Karen, which again for them is very much long overdue. She asks if they feel married, and Karen doesn't give it 2.5 seconds. She immediately says, no, we do not feel married. And of course she says it's because of the length of time that she's known him, and she's still trying to feel it out. I'm like, Karen, we are so sick of hearing about you needing time. You signed up for a show to get married to a stranger. Girl, you signed up for the quickest process of doing this situation, but you keep screaming that you need time. This experiment was not for you, boo. If you need so much time, you need to go date somebody, date them for the next 3 to 5 years, and then figure out if you want to marry them and not just jump into marriage, because that seems like such a huge deal for her. And for her to do the complete opposite of doing this such accelerated experience, I'm like, the time that you wanted is gone. You're a wife. Let's speed this process along and get with it, okay? Miles does share that it's been confusing, some of the signals that that Karen has been given, and I was like, bingo. I feel the exact same way, because she's just been all over the place. You know, I like him. I want him to touch me. I want to massage him. I don't trust him. I don't know if he's showing me his true colors. I just don't know every episode, she is just all over the place. So I knew, and we were feeling that Miles did. So I was happy to hear him say that this episode, that he's like, it's just really confusing to read her and figure out what she wants. She also says that she likes the hugs and things that Miles give her, but yet she won't initiate anything. So again, a very confusing signal to Miles of, he's like, I do it. Does she like it? She don't like it this time. She's not pulling me in. She's not trying to draw me closer. I don't know. Karen, stop sending mixed signals and make it make sense, okay? Make it make sense. Dr. Viviana does suggest that they basically just take sex off the table. When she said that, Miles was like record stretch, what are you talking about? Take sex off the table. But of course, I think Karen's eyes were like, yay! So we don't have to talk about it. Check. So I get it, because I feel like it is like that underlying tenseness and pressure that we feel with them, of him really wanting to be close and intimate with her and her not so much. So if you take that off the table, maybe she's able to get a little bit closer to him, allow the cuddles, allow the kisses, because then in her mind she knows it's not going to lead to anything further because sex is officially off the table. So I don't know how to read that. I get the point in Dr. Viviana suggesting it, because again, I think that appeases Karen's comfort level, but I feel like that's all we've been doing is appeasing Karen's comfort level this whole time. So, I don't know. Next, we see Woody and Amani, and we see them out in the park, and they're asking each other a series of questions that's tucked in Woody's pocket about sex and intimacy. They discuss what turns on each other, and then the next question that Amani pulls is, what's your favorite sexual position and why? And she's like, oh God, here we go. And then, Woody ain't shy. He's like, I like it from the side because I feel like I can experience everything when I'm doing it from the side. And then she says, it's something, mine is something we haven't done yet, with like, my legs kind of like sitting on your shoulders. And Woody's like, taking my notes. Got it. No worries then. So she then asks him for a time where he felt like he is giving up, and Woody used this opportunity to really open up a little bit more to her and says that he's really given up on the relationship with his dad. We kind of saw that at the wedding when he really was talking to Amani's dads and said that, he really didn't have his father in his life and he was happy to now have both of them. So he said that, it just feels like it's been too much that's been said and done between the two of them, that he just feels like the bridge has collapsed between the two and there's really no rebuilding. But he has said, of course, as he told us before, he's gone to counseling. The counseling has really helped him move past that, and he just shares that if he had not been able to go to counseling and really move past that, he don't think he would have been able to marry Amani, basically kind of with all that baggage on him. So I just love them. They are just so stinking cute together. How they just, mesh and talk to each other, and they're really open and not afraid to be vulnerable. I love that with them. We see a sneak peek of Miles and Karen going to work out. Miles is struggling, but at least we see in that Karen is able to relax and let her hair down a bit. And I was like, finally, yay, let's go. Next up, we see Dr. Viviana go to see Henry and Christina, which again, very much so needed. You probably should have saw them right after the honeymoon. When asked how things are going, Christina says that things are a little bit shaky, and that he was a bit closed off, and he does admit that that it takes him a little bit to really warm up and express his emotions to people. Because he hasn't dated much, he said he doesn't really have a whole lot of experience dealing with communication and affection. So when basically Christina is expecting all of this from him, he basically has nothing to pull from to give all of that to her. So again, kind of really opposite ends of the spectrum with those two. But they discuss some steps to help build the intimacy with each other. And it looks like she says that the ball is basically in his court. She's like, you know what? I'm down for whatever. The ball is in his court. Whatever he, wants to do, I'm going to be down for it. And then Henry says that he likes to get to know someone emotionally first, which don't know how successful that's going to be when he just really despises her impatience. And I don't know if he's going to be able to get past that to even become emotionally in tune or attracted to her to get to the physical intimacy that they need to get to. But they do discuss some things that they can implement that will help with physical intimacy. So they just discuss, you know, him taking the lead, and she then shares now that him like doing that and being really kind of take charge is a non-negotiable. Now, I question whether this truly is a non-negotiable for her. I know she's mentioned it previous times before that she just, you know, she's never had to wait this long. She likes a man that takes the lead. She likes a strong man. Like, she's mentioned these things before, but now with her in a sense of trying to say it's like a non-negotiable, it's a deal breaker, I feel like she's just trying to say that to really get back at Henry, because just last week Henry said that the impatience was a deal breaker. So I feel like she wants to have something that is truly a deal breaker, and she wants that to be known just like he made it known on his end. So I question whether that is truly how she feel and it is a deal breaker, or if she just wanted something to throw back at him because of what he did last week. But anyway, it's like they basically both continue to put on a front whenever the experts come around, and then whenever they are together, they are truly struggling and they will continue to truly struggle until they like express what their needs are or their frustrations are to the people that can help them. I mean, you can't tell the experts everything's great and then once they leave, you guys are, you know, not talking or arguing, or, you know, Henry's going to talk to somebody else. Like, come on, let's be real, it's not going to work. So we see Amelia and Bennett for the first time this episode, and they're doing one of the activities that Dr. Viviana has given the couples. And theirs is just so sweet and cute. You see them standing face to face to each other, their foreheads touching, and they're hugging. And basically they have to say words of affirmation to each other. So basically they just sit there and say, you know, their favorite part of each other's minds, and then they finish the sentence. They feel closest to each other when, and they finish the sentence. Their favorite part of each other's bodies, and they finish the sentence. I'm like, y'all are just so stinking cute, just sitting there talking, letting their emotions flow. It was the cutest situation. You can just see, like, you can feel and see the magic happening between Bennett and Amelia, of how comfortable they feel with each other, and how they really just, you know, they just jumped in this thing. So they are definitely, I feel like, out of all the couples, I mean, I like Woody and Imani, but I feel like they are really taking this very seriously, while also having fun and letting things just happen as they would, you know, naturally progress, and not putting too much pressure on themselves. We have a little sidebar conversation with Woody and Imani in the bed as they talk about getting a dog, which is the most hilarious conversation of, you know, he don't want a dog, she wants a dog. He's like, no, we can get a dog when we have a baby and we'll get them at the same time and raise them both together. And she's like, what you mean? We just gonna have a dog and a baby? Which I'm like, Woody, that's a lot of responsibility at the same time. I don't think you thinking this through. But I'm like, you can send the dog back if you end up not liking the dog, or sell it. You can't do that to the baby. But Woody's like, my dog's not gonna be outside. He's not gonna be on the bed. Like, we gonna train him not to bark real loud. It's just so cute. And then you see her in a little clip by herself, and she's like, I'm going to get the dog. So I'm pretty sure they'll have a dog very soon. Olivia and Brett, we see them go out to eat, and they discuss their visit with Dr. Viviana. And Olivia is really trying to gauge Brent's thoughts of how he felt when Dr. Viviana was there visiting them. And yet again, Brett comes to be a asshole. Star of the show, right? But basically he says that it's difficult to say not to worry about a problem when you know it's going to be a problem. So when they were talking about the whole house situation, and Dr. Viviana was like, well, you're not there yet, just, you know, not really concerning so much yourself about what you're going to do when that situation happens, just live in the moment. So that's his issue of, we know it's still going to be a problem whether we address it or not. So basically he thinks it's stupid to try not to go ahead and just address the problem. But I was happy that Olivia finally really voiced her disdain about Brent's facial expressions, because I believe we all see it every single week when she talks or does something, and he just makes these terrible facial expressions. Like, he's just so annoyed with her, or what she said is so stupid, what she said just doesn't make sense. Like, his face does these expressions all the time, and he acts like he has no idea what she's talking about when she then brings it up to say, I don't like you doing that. Y'all, he tears my nerves up. He is like the king of deflection all the time. She's telling him this. I don't know that I'm doing it. She's like, I've told you multiple times, don't look at me like that when you've done it. And then he acts like he's never ever heard her say these things. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, oh, okay. She feels that he may be holding back as well when it comes to them talking, because she says that he gives like these beauty pageant answers, which I felt like we talked about a couple weeks ago, where he gives like these politician answers. I believe it was Woody that said that. And it's like we all see it. It's like you try to give the politically correct thing to say even if you don't feel like that, which nobody wants to hear, because your actions are total opposite of what you're saying, which makes it even that much more confusing for her to figure out what the heck you mean and what the heck you want to do with this relationship. When Olivia mentioned, you know, how he was saying all those sweet things in front of Dr. Viviana, she brought it up and brought in his face. She's like, you know, you really don't say those things when we're alone, and I didn't know you felt that way. And it's just like, because he doesn't. He's just saying that to sound and look good to the experts, to make it look like you're the one that's causing the problems here, Olivia. Let's be real. I just think I would never want anybody's marriage to fail, but these two are not a good match at all. He needs somebody who's just going to go with the flow of everything that he says. She needs somebody who's more emotionally mature, and can really, you know, speak their mind and do it in such a way that it's respectful of somebody else. So I want them to really call it quits before the 8 weeks are up, just because it's painful to begin to watch these two, because always like butting heads with them, and I'm annoyed by Brent. He gets on my nerves. Then we see Miles and Karen get the fishbowl, and they start asking each other questions. So they start with pet names that they would want to call each other, and Miles just starts, you know, naming off some names that he's already called Karen, or maybe, you know, would she be okay with him calling her that? And then of course Karen says, you know, I'm not really into pet names. Like, can you just say, you know, if I call you M, that's my short name for you, Miles, calling you M, or babe, honey, sweetie, sugar lump, something. Karen, God, dog, you get on my nerves. They then discuss what is a trigger to making the other person feel insecure. And he does say that the age thing has been maybe not so much a trigger, but it's been a little bit annoying, because he feels like that when people kind of talk about his age, it diminishes who he is or what he's done just because of his age. And we all know Karen has made plenty of comments about his age, and then when she turns around and kind of asks him if, you know, her comments have made him feel some kind of way, he made me so upset that he was like, no, not really, because, you know, you'll see who I am from me just showing you. And I'm like, oh, Miles, say that what she said bother you. You had your opportunity because she asked you, and you could have said it so that she is clearly aware she's doing some things too that are not making you 100% happy. Miles, speak up, speak up. So I was just annoyed that he didn't do that. She says that her biggest hurdle with him is for to try to get him to change his perception of her, because he thinks she's pretty closed off, which I agree. When she says it's not that she's closed off, it's just that, you know, maybe it takes a little bit more time for her to get there. So when she says, you know, of course, no to sex or no to touching and a bunch of PDA, that does not mean no forever, but, you know, no right now that I'm not comfortable with that. And I felt like she needed to say that, because I think that would help Miles a little bit more of knowing that she isn't just non-receptive to anything. Like, I can do, you know, a little peck on the lips or a smack on the booty. If I do it today, don't do it again tomorrow. You know, that type of vibe. We then see Henry and Christina complete an activity that was given to them by Dr. Viviana. They have to write out some questions, and then after they write out the questions, they have to blindfold each other to then ask the questions, in hopes that with them not being able to look at each other, it lets the other one let their guard down some so that they can answer these questions honestly. So Henry shares that he can open up more and not let things fester to help improve their marriage. He also says that he is still super critical on himself because he was heavier in weight as a child, and sometimes he still sees himself in that way, which affects his confidence. And then, y'all, Christina puts on her therapist hat. She takes off her flight attendant hat and she puts on her therapist hat. And she basically says, you know, you're almost 35 years old. You just need to get over it. I said, girl, if you think it was that easy, don't you think he would have already gotten over it? And that is not your place when he is talking to you and that's been a struggle and he's being open and vulnerable with you, for you to then say basically he just needs to get over this thing that he's struggled with most of his life. Christina, read the room. Read the room. Was not the time, honey. Was not the time. No. So that just made me so angry. And then Christina says, again, this lack of confidence is a deal breaker. And I'm like, well, you might as well just let Henry go, because, again, he's not just overnight all of a sudden going to build up all his confidence and feel like Hercules and you just fall in love with him all of a sudden. So, whatever. We see that Brent and Olivia go to a class where they learn how to make a cocktail. And, again, everything just feels so forced with Brent. Like, he acts like anything that they do, it's like, oh, Mom, do I have to go to school today? Do I have to go to this class with you? Do I have to go to trivia with your friends? Like, everything is like, I feel like he's kicking and screaming doing it. Just do it and enjoy. And she's trying to have a good time. She's like, this is my favorite drink, and she's learning how to make it. And I'm like, y'all get on my nerves. And then once they get done, they kind of talk about a resolution for the conversation that they had when they were at the restaurant, and things kind of got a little bit heated. And he was basically like, there is no resolution. Basically saying that he can't control her perception of him. Like, he feels like he's coming off as being nice and genuine, and she's not perceiving it that way. And that's her perception, and there ain't nothing he can do about it. Okay. The problem with Britt is he doesn't really see their problems as our problems. Like, her having an issue with, you know, maybe how he say things or his attitude or her perception. He's like, oh no, that's your problem. That's nothing on my end that I need to fix. That's all on you. When it's like, no, being in a marriage, you're going to have to figure out how to compromise and meet your spouse halfway. You're not going to always enjoy everything that you do, but if you love that person and you enjoy being in their company, you're going to make, you know, some concessions to make your spouse happy. And Brent just sounds like he's not on board with that. But what is there? Are we shocked? No. We see that Henry and Bennett actually meet up and, you know, are able to eat and talk just a little bit. I just love that Bennett, he really has a way with words. Like, even when he talks to Amelia, when he's in front of everybody else, he doesn't have, you know, his outward appearance may not show much, but he always has very intelligent advice and very kind things to say. So I think that conversation was much needed that he had with Henry. I really like Bennett as a person. Like, aside from this show, he's just a really great person. Once, of course, Henry gets back home, Christina's like, so, okay, how did it go? What y'all talk about? I'm like, girl, he ain't stepped in the door 5 minutes before you gotta know the conversation that he had with Bennett. Let him have some privacy and let him discuss what he needs to discuss with whomever he needs to discuss, and not necessarily come back and give you a book report on what they talked about. I was just like, you just did this last week with Amani, and here you come again. As soon as he gets home, you want to know exactly what it is he talked about with Henry. Like, let him have private moments, girl. He's not a child. She brings up confidence again, y'all. This was like the third, fourth time this episode, and by this time I was really starting to tune out. I just couldn't, because she just like, you know, I just have a lot of confidence, and I just don't understand how you just don't have confidence. I'm like, girl, it's all good. You got good self-esteem, but on a scale of 1 to 10, you're not a 10, and you right now acting like you a 12. Stop it. Stop it, okay? because it's making you look uglier with this attitude and this facade that you're displaying on TV. It's making you look even less attractive, okay? And then basically, as the episode is wrapping up this week, we see Amani and Woody playing a little game. It's like a little card game that it has like different things that they have to do on it. So it shows that, you know, she had to massage his back, and then he had to do a little dance for her. And then he had to put chocolate syrup anywhere on her body and lick it off. Of course, he put it on her neck. And they both love it. It's just like they have really great chemistry, connection, communication. Again, sort of like Bennett and Amelia, they're not afraid to be vulnerable, where, you know, Amani is like, ooh, I don't necessarily want, you know, all these intimate kisses with my husband, and, you know, him licking me on the neck and talking about sexual positions. No, I don't necessarily want all this on TV, but she's going with the flow, versus a Karen is like, I don't want to talk about this because my mama's going to watch this and blah. Your mama also know you got married. Girl, what you think married people do? Stop it. But anyway, that was basically the episode this week. Next week we see the couple celebrate their 1 month anniversary, and it looks like Brent is going to come with the shits once again, which we, you know, should not be shocked at this point in time. But yeah. Let's chat about it below in the comments. How'd y'all feel this episode? Are your favorites still your favorites, or are they getting on your nerves? Do y'all feel differently about Karen or Christina this episode? I'm curious to know if Christina did get back on the meds and we're seeing a little bit of improvement, or if she ain't quite got there yet. I don't know. Let's talk about it. Put your comments and stuff below. Don't forget to like the video, and again, subscribe, and we'll be back next week to talk about episode 12. Peace.